I'm the president and research director for DAMS International, which is a patient support organization. I'm a medical researcher and have a background in environmental externalities and health effects of toxic exposures, that kind of thing. Like thousands of others who I'm aware of through my organization, after I became involved in it, when I got mercury poisoned, I gradually became disabled in the early 1990s and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I had lots of all kinds of problems, physical problems of all kinds, and lots of tests. And one of my tests found that I was mercury toxic, which surprised me because I was a mercury researcher for a state agency. Though I didn't research dental amalgam, I researched emissions and that kind of thing. And I found the main source of my mercury was dental amalgam. And in researching the literature, I found that that was not unusual because it's the #1 source of mercury in most people who have several amalgam fillings, which has been documented by hundreds of thousands of tests by medical labs and also by government agencies. I had my amalgams fillings replaced. I didn't know how to go about doing that, but I started searching around to find people that knew how to do it. And I had them replaced, and over the next 3 years I had my amalgams and metal crowns that were over amalgam replaced, and also did some detoxification, which I also didn't know anything about much, but found out through my research and talking to people. And I basically recovered from all of my different symptoms. I got to where I was so bad I could hardly walk and couldn't drive, and had to have my daughter drive me a lot. And so anyway, but after getting rid of my amalgam and doing the right things, I basically have recovered to where in my 60s I've been playing softball on city league teams with a lot younger players, and likewise basketball even again. So, and I also was told I was going blind, and after doing this, my eyes got so good I don't wear glasses anymore. And this is true of over 60,000 cases. We have over 60,000 cases of people we work with that have similar experience to me. What I want to talk about a little more, though, is that there's never been a time in U.S. history when mercury was not known to be extremely toxic, and when there was evidence that its use in amalgam might be safe. I'm providing references of over 880 pages of articles in dental journals from the 1800s documenting the fact that the dental authorities were aware that mercury was extremely toxic and that amalgam was unstable, and its use caused high mercury exposure and patient harm. And I'm going to actually mention some excerpts from some of the articles of that time. Due to the high toxicity of mercury and the known documented fact that those that have amalgam fillings get significant mercury exposures and commonly experience adverse health effects, those dentists who used mercury in that time were called quacks, after the German word for mercury. By the late 1900s, there were thousands of peer-reviewed studies documenting high mercury exposures from amalgam use and common significant adverse health effects. I use the Medline, National Institute of Health, National Library of Medicine for a lot of my sources of that kind of information, and there are thousands of studies there, which I actually have. I actually reference over 5,000 peer-reviewed studies on my website. The following are excerpts from some of the articles in that 800 and something pages that I mentioned from the 1800s. They say, from its inception, the better class of dental practitioners waged war against its use. The manner in which it was introduced called forth the censure of all who have professional etiquette. Dr. Harris of the Baltimore College of Dental Surgery stated, "It's one of the most objectionable materials for filling teeth that can be employed. At the meetings of the dental societies, the subject was discussed and strong arguments made against its use. They reported that such substances were hurtful to the mouth in all parts, and there were no caries that other sources couldn't be used for filling." The report was unanimously adopted by the societies. In 1845, the Mississippi Valley Association of Dental Surgeons resolved that the use of amalgam was injurious and unprofessional and would not be countenanced by its members. But the age of special interest and economic benefit came about in promoting amalgam fillings, and in spite of all of the record in the knowledge of the dental authorities, amalgam use has become fairly widespread, or in fact very widespread. The Dental Registry of Dentistry in 1872 had the following case from mercury in a tooth filling. John T. Smith died of salivation caused from mercury in a tooth filling. Dr. Sprague attended the case. 2 other doctors consulted agreed he was suffering from the effects of mercury. It was clear that mercury had caused his death. This is one of many cases cited in the journals of that time. The reasons for the high known exposure to all with several amalgam fillings is due to mercury's unusual properties. It's a gas at room temperature, and it's not stable in any other form. It continuously vaporizes to a gas at any temperature over 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And as temperature increases, the vapor pressure increases and it vaporizes faster. In addition to that, if you put it in an amalgam with other metals, you get a battery effect. And you can actually go down to Radio Shack and pick up a microamp meter and put one probe to the tooth, to the filling, and one to the hard palate, and you can measure that it's pumping mercury and other metals into the body, and it accumulates, according to autopsy studies, to high levels throughout the oral cavity of people who have fillings. And from there it moves on through capillaries and veins and nerves to all parts of the body and accumulates in organs to high levels, and later in life causes a lot of problems. As I said, our organization has documented, has worked with people who recovered. We have over 60,000 cases of people who recovered after getting rid of their amalgam fillings. And there are a lot of other cases out there, but our organization alone has documented 60,000 cases of recovery. And several of us in my organization had MS, like me. In addition, due to mercury's properties and the high exposures of those with amalgam fillings, dental amalgam is documented by municipal sewer agencies and the EPA to be the largest source of mercury in sewers and sewer sludge, with very high levels in both. The average person with several such fillings or crowns over amalgam is documented to excrete approximately 30 micrograms per day of mercury into the sewers, a very high level since mercury is the most toxic element people commonly come in contact with. Medical labs found that the average person with amalgams excretes almost 10 times as much mercury as those without amalgams. And you can find that on their own websites, on the web, in a medical lab. And amalgam is a significant source of mercury in water bodies, the environment, fish, and so forth. So in Florida, we have most of our water bodies have warnings for mercury in fish. Well, dental amalgam is the largest source in sewers and a major source in water bodies from the sewer outfalls. And there's actually enough coming in to contaminate virtually all the fish in Florida to dangerous levels. And we do have that problem with mercury in fish in Florida. This is true also in other states. And some of the other countries that have actually banned amalgam, the environmental effects of the mercury going into the water bodies in fish is one of the reasons that they cite in why countries like, well, several countries in Europe have banned amalgam, and other countries, because of the harm to people, have put limits on use in women and children.
Thank you, Dr. Windham.
Okay.